Sì, buonasera a tutte e a tutti e ringrazio a nome del Centro Linguistico la collega Zulli per la sua presenza oggi a Campobasso. Mi scuso invece della mia assenza, però so che è stata accolta con altrettanta, diciamo, insomma, gentilezza e generosità dalla collega Francesca D'Alfonso. Tra l'altro letto, io non ci conosciamo personalmente, però ho letto che oltre all'attività didattica scientifica condividiamo la direzione del centro linguistico, quindi sento una particolare vicinanza e anche apprezzo che tu abbia trovato il tempo di venirci a salutare. E il tema che ci proponi e che forse introdurrà adesso Francesca, oltre a presentarti in maniera anche più completa, il tema mi sembra di una rilevanza, di un interesse significativi, forse anche di un certo appeal anche per gli studenti che non hanno in questo momento una immediata prospettiva, diciamo, didattica, e anche in questo siamo accomunate perché anche per me è motivo di interesse sia di studio quello dei social media dal punto di vista dell'evoluzione dell'italiano, però qualche volta poi mi sono soffermata più qualche anno fa anche sull'utilizzo didattico dei social media e quindi insomma non rubo tempo alla tua presentazione perché mi incuriosisce particolarmente. Grazie ancora, benvenuti a tutti e buon lavoro a tutte noi. Grazie.
Grazie Giuliana, in realtà ti abbiamo persa per qualche minuto, quindi qualche secondo, quindi ci siamo persi un po' della tua presentazione, dei tuoi saluti di benvenuto. Io conosco la professoressa Tania ZULLI praticamente da quasi 30 anni e quindi diciamo sin dai tempi del dottorato. Lei diciamo che insegna lingua inglese all'Università degli Studi Gabriele D'Annunzio e dirige, come ha già detto la professoressa Fiorentino, il Centro Linguistico d'Ateneo. In questo momento la sua ricerca è basata soprattutto sugli studi dei social media e proprio per questo oggi ci parlerà in particolare della didattica della lingua inglese attraverso i social media, quindi Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, eccetera. Tra le sue più recenti pubblicazioni ricordiamo la traduzione, anche perché la professoressa Zulli si occupa di studi traduttologici, e tra le sue recenti pubblicazioni si annovera la traduzione di Joseph Conrad e Amy Foster, nonché un bellissimo volume che ho letto che si intitola Joseph Conrad, Language and Transnationalism, edito da Solfanelli. Io lascerei la parola direttamente alla professoressa Zulli, appunto, che ci parlerà oggi di Learning EFL through Social Media Apps, Trends, Methods and Perspectives.
Thank you very much. Grazie Francesca. Allora, innanzitutto ringrazio la direttrice del Centro Linguistico di Ateneo di Unimol, Giuliana Fiorentino. Mi dispiace molto che non possiamo conoscerci di persona, ma sono ugualmente grata invece per la presenza online, perché capisco, comprendo assolutamente che gli impegni sono sempre tantissimi, soprattutto quando i lavori diventano doppi, cioè si fa un doppio lavoro. E quindi molte grazie Giuliana, sono sicura che avremo modo di incontrarci in futuro e naturalmente lo spero. Ringrazio la professoressa D'Alfonso per l'invito. Come lei ha già detto è una collega e un'amica anche, ci conosciamo da tanti anni, abbiamo lavorato molto e molto bene insieme, quindi mi fa assolutamente piacere essere qui. Ringrazio voi che siete venuti, perché è chiaro che siete la parte fondamentale del seminario, non esisterebbe un seminario se non ci fossero persone ad ascoltarlo, e ringrazio anche le persone che ci seguono, sono online. Allora, una sola brevissima precisazione. Io terrò la lecture in inglese, spero che tutti insomma siate così tranquilli e rilassati nella comprensione di quello che dirò, ma per qualsiasi cosa, se ci sono concetti che vorreste io spiegassi meglio, se non, insomma, per qualsiasi difficoltà interrompetemi pure, feel free to interrupt me, ok? Right, okay, before I start, let me just say, make a few comments on the title of my lecture today, and I'm kind of making these comments for the students in the room. Learning EFL through social media apps. Let's make clear what EFL is. It is English as a foreign language. It means that what I will be focusing on today is how learning English when you are not a native speaker. Okay? So that's all right. And how can we learn English as a second language through social media applications? Now, this term is very wide and it's a very kind of general term. Today I will be restricting the focus on social media applications, and for this I mean those you can actually download on your mobile phones, okay? So we will be talking about mobile phones apps. Okay, this said, let me start by making a few comments about online communication. The value of online communication today in society and in education as well has been discussed on a large scale. It has been widely discussed. Multimedia communication influences our lives in every single aspect. And also the question of language as a vehicle, as an instrument, let's say, to understand social media has been studied and talks about a lot in linguistics, in psychology, and so on and so forth. We know that social media influence our lives in every single aspect, as I said. We use them, those we can download on mobile phones, as I said. We use them to book a table at a restaurant. We use them to learn how to remove stains from our clothes. Did you know there are social media applications telling you what you need to use to remove a stain on your skirt or trousers? We use them to learn the name of a flower, for example. So, I mean, there is a huge number of social media applications, and we can really use them for many things and for every aspect of our daily life. We can use them to learn a foreign language too. And this is the reason why the topic of language learning through social media has lately been a much discussed topic. Integrating social media in a traditional lesson, however, has its challenges. I wouldn't call them difficulties, but they are challenges, definitely. Why? One of the reasons is that the number of social media available today is huge, and its constant growth also makes it quite difficult to classify them, to pigeonhole them. So the landscape of language teaching resources has largely expanded lately, and it has become more and more complex to find a way through this huge world, basically. In a very interesting article on the integration of social media in the classroom, Kessler states that, and I'm quoting here, the greatest challenge for many English teachers today is managing to sort through the wealth of resources to identify those that are most useful for their own teaching contexts. we are faced with an array of tools that allows us to interact with one another through multimodal means simultaneously and at our convenience. So, I mean, it is not easy, and we will kind of try to make order into this very wild world. Now, as I said, communication and media have been recognized a high value in the latest, say, 10 years. To the point that their importance has been also recognized by national and European commissions that are in charge of school education and regulations. In fact, for example, the spread of social media and online communication has led to a revision of the CEFR. Again, let's disentangle these acronyms. What is CEFR? We're talking about the Common European Framework of where is it? Of reference for languages. That is to say, it is well, it's basically a book, but there is a board classifying language according to different levels, and I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. The levels of language knowledge are classified in a scale, in a 6 or 7 point scale, starting from A1, A2, up to C1. Now, these levels are defined according to what they call descriptors. So it's language descriptors. Some of the, let me see if they're here. Yeah, these are some of the language descriptors used to make this classification, the language levels. Transparency and coherence, for example, the user-learner as a social agent, the action-oriented approach, mediation, and so on and so forth. Now, the latest CEFR companion volume, which was published in 2018, this is a second edition, basically, with some changes. So the latest CEFR companion has extended the original descriptors. A couple of more descriptors have been added, and these concern precisely online communication. So the ones you find in bold are those that have been added. Okay, plurilingualism and pluriculturalism and online interaction. There are two main scales in the 2018 companion volume where online interaction is introduced. So what do we mean for online interaction? We are asked to develop, to deal with online conversation and discussion in the class. Teachers are basically asked to do that, and good-oriented online transactions and collaborations. So these are the areas teachers in secondary school, for example, or at university are asked to work on. Also, apart from the companion volume, specific publications dedicated to online interaction in the companion volume have been published lately, such as this very interesting volume by Fausto Benedetti, Letizia Cinganotto, and Gisella Langer. This is a book which comments on the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. And in this book, one of the authors says a very interesting thing. He makes clear that, and I'm quoting again, the potential for classroom exploitation of these descriptors lies in their ability to raise educators' awareness of the characteristics of online interaction and multimodal communication in order to prepare learners for agentive participation in an increasingly globalized and technologically mediated society. What are we talking about? I mean, two are the focuses here. Attentive participation. Students are asked to have an active part in the classroom. So they are asked to speak, to interact online with other students, for example, by using a foreign language, by using English. And the second thing, the second element, of course, is that this interaction is required because we live in a globalized world. So, in conclusion, online interaction and multimodal communication are crucial elements in language learning. Now, given this scenario, social media integration into English as a foreign language classroom has been a topic of discussion. Between 2012 and 2014, SNS, social networking sites, this is another name we gave to social media, basically. It's a more general term. So SNS have increasingly been introduced in the classroom, especially in the form of blogs, wikis. You all know what a blog is. So blogs have been used to teach a foreign language. Wikipedia pages have been used in the classroom for to teach not only foreign languages, but many other topics. Now, between 2012 and 2014, as I was saying, blogs, wikis have been considered as the main social media tools. Today, however, I will focus, as you can easily see, on a specific group of social media apps, which is quite different from the traditional social media. I would like to investigate their potential and to discuss their effective usefulness and adequacy. Are they really useful? Are they really adequate for teaching to teach a second language? I would like to show how these social media and social media applications such as Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, WhatsApp, and so on and so forth, can be integrated into classroom teaching. What is their potential? What are the challenges we may face? Now, I have, of course, decided to restrict the area of analysis to these social media tools because they are usually part of young students' lives. And they are mainly perceived as a light and funny way to spend their free time as well. So not only to learn things, but also, I mean, they are perceived as applications they use during their free time. This is an important thing in terms of motivation, because social media integration certainly provides motivation and will drive students closer to learning the language. Before we go on, you will realize, I mean, this, but two of the potentials of social media integration in the classroom are, in my opinion, and not only in my opinion, motivation, definitely, and closeness to real language, to real life. So, and this, of course, is something students will find very interesting. Okay, we will go very quickly through numbers just to let you have an idea of what we're talking about. According to Data Reportal, statistics on social media users in Italy for 2022 were the following. There were 43.2 million social media users in Italy in January 2022. So we're talking about 1 year ago, which corresponds more or less to 71.6% of the total population. So almost 72% of the world population uses social media. Capio's analysis also reveals that social media users in Italy have increased by 2.2 million, that is to say plus 5.4% between 2021 and 2022. So plus 5% in 1 year. The latest statistics show that Facebook continues to prevail as the most used app, with 2.94 billion active users in 2022. This is true, but not completely. What I mean, and the students, I mean the younger people in the class will be able to confirm this, young people prefer other social media, such as Instagram, TikTok. They would use Facebook less, wouldn't you? Can you confirm this? Yeah, okay. But in general terms, generally speaking, Facebook remains one of the most used because, you know, like population is not made up of young people only. So we, old people, use Facebook as well. So this means that around 3 out of every 4 of the total number of social media users use Facebook, basically. 3 people out of 4. Of course, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram follow. In Italy, the trend follows the just mentioned general tendency with a few slight differences. For example, there is a surprise. TripAdvisor is a popular media in Italy, and it is not popular in, say, the rest of Europe or in the United States and so on and so forth. Now, what will happen in 2023? Very quickly. Numbers have been growing in 2022, as we said. In July 2022, 2 out of 3 people used social media. The current trend suggests that by the end of 2023, internet will reach the same number of users as television. So, which is about 5 billion people for both. Internet and television will be used by the same amount of people, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. And internet has developed, I mean, its growth has been enormous and very fast. I'm sorry. Okay, of course it is difficult to reach 100% users of both internet and television and everything else due to various problems. Many do not want to access internet, many cannot. Let's not forget we are talking on a worldwide scale, and some countries lack electricity. Okay? We don't have to think about our industrialized countries, but places such as South Sudan, for example, or Papua Nueva Guinea or Chad. I mean, people in these areas walk more than 1 hour to get access to water. So they have other problems, you know, to solve before that of using internet. So for this reason, I'm saying this because what I want to tell you is that we expect a slow growth of the rate of social media users in the near future. We are not going to reach 100% social media users. What has actually changed in the latest 12 months is the kind of social media people use. They spend more time on TikTok, for example, than last year. Users declare that they are on TikTok mainly to watch funny videos more than communicate with friends and family. They would use Facebook to communicate with friends and family. For this reason, this, apart from, you know, the trend and the curiosity which we like, but this tells us something very important, that different media occupy different functional and emotional areas. We use different media to do different things with different purposes. Okay, I would skip on this just very quickly. Okay, I'll just make a summary of my slide. Okay, the article you find quotes it here. So Yeah, we were talking about this famous article. It was published in 2006, and it is the first. It is important because it is the first article talking about mobile-assisted language learning, meaning the introduction of social media apps, basically, in traditional classroom teaching. So going to the mall, mobile-assisted language learning paved the way for the academic discussion on mall applications by examining their advantages and their challenges. After this article, people, well, academics, linguists and psychologists and so on and so forth, start to get interested in social media introduction in the classroom. Now, this has led to a number of conferences, associations and professional organizations and journals dealing with mobile assisted language, which is different from internet. I mean, for the first time in these years, mobile assisted language was recognized, academically speaking, as being different from internet. Of course, even if mobile learning shares much with electronic learning, what is called e-learning, between 2012 and 2013, dedicated conferences, associations and professional organizations, book and journals, where book and journals were being published and conferences were being organized and so on and so forth. Now, social media applications for mobile were studied and their positive and negative aspects, their potential and their challenges were analyzed. Among the positive things, one of the main strengths, basically frequently highlighted, was the fact that mobile learning technology could be employed both in the classroom and outside. I mean, you can open your application on the bus, on the train, while walking in the park. And this was considered in an article by Young in published in 2013. This was considered as a sort of extended lesson, let's say, which would actually go out the classroom. Also, I've been talking about this already. Mobile assisted language would language learning, would provide sources of real language, a language which is close to young people, close to students, which work basically as an important motivator for the student, allowing them to produce more language than they otherwise might have done. Okay, I'll go a bit faster. What do students think about learning English? They would tell you it is difficult. I don't have an aptitude for it. Non sono portato per le lingue. Quante volte l'abbiamo sentito? Or words are pronounced differently, and so I have difficulties because you write them in one way and you pronounce them in a completely different way. Think about, I don't know, tough. Words have different meanings. The same word, I used to tell my students, if you, well, when we used paper vocabularies, go and find the word get, the verb get. You will have like 10 pages. Get, according to the preposition you put after it and so on and so forth, means everything tranne ciao. This is what I used to tell them. And for for a foreign student, well, for a student who is not a student of English as a foreign language, this is very difficult. This is a very big challenge. The English has phrasal verbs and idioms. Oh my God. And this is so difficult for students, isn't it? Students will also tell you that English is boring. Some of them say this. because at first you will have to learn many different rules, words, structures that differ from your mother tongue. I don't know about you, but what I used to say to my students is that Italian is difficult, English is not. And I have, you know, a few examples to convince them, but I'll skip on that. So what are the likely solutions? Enhance motivation, of course. Make a brainstorming of words, expressions that students already know, and they will realize there are many, and they will realize that English, and I'm coming to my second point, is a language and not a subject to be studied. Make them see that they use English anyway, even if they don't speak a word of English, but they use English anyway, in music, films, video games, YouTube, and so on and so forth. So one of the solutions for drawbacks can definitely be that of enhancing motivation. What do they want when they enroll for an English course? What do they expect? As a director of the Language Center at the D'Annunzio University of Chieri Pescara, and being in charge of the language coursing not only for university students, but also for external institutions and companies, so for people coming from the outside, what I am always asked when people request a course is classes based on communication. We want to understand and we want to be able to speak. We're not interested in grammar. We don't care about grammar, right? So students mainly want to speak fluently and understand well. The fact that communication is crucial cannot be ignored, of course. So speaking fluently, yes. But as an English language teacher, what I also say is that, and having taught English for many years, what I also say and what I am firmly convinced of is that things must be said properly. So communication, yes, but we need to speak properly. And if this implies studying the grammar, we need to study the grammar as well. We need to communicate, but we need to do it properly. To this end, social networking sites have a privileged position. They have a privileged role because they can stimulate different cognitive and non-cognitive resources. We will see this in a bit. For now, let me make clear that when it comes to using social media in the classroom, it is very important that every lesson, every unit, or every module is carefully structured and we cannot rely on material randomly selected on Instagram or Twitter and proposed to the class. So I am convinced we can integrate social media apps in traditional classrooms, but we must know how to do it. I mean, it is not something we can do randomly. The lesson, the class must be planned carefully and accordingly. Very quickly, let me go through some of the challenges for teachers, because there are teachers in the class. One of the main challenges is getting familiar with technology. We're slowly improving, I would say. But resources selection may become quite difficult due to the huge amount of applications and material available. Teachers have declared, I've read a few articles about this, and teachers have declared reluctant to use social media technology, and they think it may often result difficult. They are required to become familiar with technology and find the right way to use appropriate online resources. In an ideal world, and in some universities far, far away from here, teachers are given guidance in this. Universities provide courses to teach them how to select social media resources, for example. So the selection of material remains a very important step, and teachers should be supported by institutions, as we said, in this, for example, through the organization of continuing education sources. Another challenge, many teachers have declared reluctant to use social media in the classroom as it tends to blur the boundaries between student and teacher. If I become friend on Facebook with my student, it's kind of, you know, it sounds a bit compromising. It should be made clear that being friends on Facebook is not the same thing as being friends in real life. Credibility, I mean, again, I have read a few articles studying this phenomenon, and the result of the research was that credibility and professionalism, I mean, interviews have been made to both teachers and students. Credibility and professionalism may be considered endangered by some teachers when students access their social media profile. But actually, a careful reshaping of the roles of teachers and students should take place. And this does not imply a downgrading of the teacher's role and professionalism. In this article I'm talking about, which is an article published in 2017 by two very talented Italian linguists, Manca and Ranieri, they examine if the student's perception of the teacher's credibility could be influenced by the teacher's use of Facebook. If my teacher uses Facebook, does he become less credible, let's say? Results show that creating a Facebook account does not automatically mean that instructors will be perceived as less credible by students. Those students seem to prefer a degree of separation from their professors within social networking sites. It appears that the potential for credibility damage is probably more related to the inappropriate manner in which the site is used. So the problem is not the teacher having a Facebook account or being friends with a student. The problem lies in what the teacher posts. I mean, his own credibility, it's the same as what he says. I mean, credibility is made by your behavior, both online and offline. Okay, I have chosen to deal with Instagram today to restrict again the area of analysis. Instagram, as many of you know, as the young people in the room certainly know, was created in 2010 as a photo and video sharing social networking service. So this is as an SNS, basically, Instagram. Users have access to the service either via an app or through a feature-limited web interface and can edit content with various filters. So you can get access on Instagram on the computer as well, but you have a limited access. So Instagram was created for mobile phones, basically. Posts can be integrated with text characters, because on Instagram you mainly publish pictures, but you can integrate them with text characters. Instagram also offers private messaging, and the content can be tagged with searchable hashtags. There is a whole discourse we could be making about the hashtag, but we have no time to do it today. So multiple images or videos can be included in a single post. And Instagram also offers a stories features, which allows users to post content that is accessible for a short amount of time. I think it's 24 hours or something like that. Stories are different from posts in Instagram, but also on other social media. Instagram posts tend to feature tailored and refined images. I mean, you are more careful when you post something than when you make a story. While stories can be more informal, let's say. Instagram has recently become more popular than Facebook among teenagers, and such popularity suggests that it will remain an important social media platform in the future. Now, in terms of language education, some studies have been conducted to examine the effects of Instagram on students' motivation, but also on their vocabulary, grammar, and writing skills. Dependence on technological tools and their incorporation into classroom settings and beyond the classroom have paved the way for using Instagram to maximize the student exposure to the language they are studying, in addition to providing, as we said already, authentic language learning and so on and so forth. Now, let's have a look at how Instagram can be used in the classroom. Of course, you will have to choose the videos you want to use in your classroom. And alas, the selection is completely up on you, meaning that you won't be helped, let's say, but there is a lot of work you will have to face, basically. The selection of material that can be used for language class integration is, of course, of crucial importance. Differently from the selection of books or other standard material that has already gone through revisions and assessment and which is already targeted at a specific level, year of study or class, you get English books targeted for B1 classes or C2 classes. So, I mean, people have been selecting the material and you find it ready-made. So, differently from that, the selection of videos or accounts on Instagram must be made exclusively by the teacher. This means that the teacher's competencies here are at stake. You will often spend time looking randomly through the videos to select those that fit your lesson plan better. Let me just tell you a few obvious and less obvious things we should look at when selecting Instagram videos. For an English class, of course, we're talking about EFL classrooms. Language qualities. Videos must be made by mother tongue or delivered in a very good English, because you will find, you know, a lot of I don't want to use you know, an inappropriate expression, but you will find a lot of things that are not fit. You will also have to look at the specific skills you are dealing with. Grammar, vocabulary, idioms, basic English or advanced English, which is your target level. Are we dealing with different areas or features of language? For example, expressions typically used by young people. I mean, these are all things you will have to work on. Some Instagram accounts actually show a classification which may help to choose among the videos, but most of the times classifications are not made according to language skills or abilities and so on and so forth. Another thing you may want to look at is the appeal of the Instagrammers and their posts. Are they captivating, funny, nice? Because this is crucial. I mean, it will be crucial for your students. Now, let me show you. I've selected 3 Instagram pages, accounts basically. These have been selected among the most popular ones available on Instagram. The 3 people who have set up these accounts are Davide Patron, Antonio Parlati, and Norma Cerletti. These are 3 young people whose English is very good, I have to say, but they are like young people. Antonio Parlati is a student at l'Orientale di Napoli. He studies foreign languages. Norma Cerletti is a girl who used to teach English in a private school, and then with the pandemic, she lost her job, and being stuck at home, she decided, you know, to create this Instagram account and give like tips about English vocabulary, pronunciation, and so on and so forth. And equally, Davide Patron is an Italian guy who lives and studies in Edinburgh or Ireland or something like that. But have a look at the number of followers they have. 426, 331, 766. These numbers have been reached in 1, maximum 2 years. And these are features, I mean, these are screenshots taken at least 6 months ago. So I'm sure they have increased more. So what do these very young people have in common? They are Italians. They are not mother tongue speakers, but their English pronunciation is like that of a mother tongue speaker. They all provide short clips about pronunciation, grammar, idioms, differences between British English and American English. The posts are not categorized in sections, but proposed randomly. The clips are very short, very clear, and to the point. The info they deliver are easy to remember. More or less, these are the elements they have in common. Some of the posts contain what they call challenges. For example, there are pronunciation challenges in which the listener is invited to repeat the pronunciation of a few words and then to check them with the Instagrammer. Some posts are about some typical mistakes made by Italians. They would tell you, okay, this is a list of typical mistakes made by Italians. Others are about a better and more proper way of saying things. For example, I don't remember if it was Davide Patron, but he says something like, don't say what, but say, pardon, what was that? Because it sounds more English. Do you confirm? Okay, so the posts, and what is somehow a bit impolite as well, isn't it? Yeah. So the posts, of course, range from basic to advanced levels of learning, and for this reason, they must be carefully selected. Okay, now if Barbara helps me a second, I will show you very quickly a few, just 3 of these posts. But I have conducted a research, I mean a quantitative study among my students at the gennaio University. We have interviewed 100 people with a few questions about these videos after showing them these videos and asking them to watch them and so on and so forth. Motivation is something that is really improves with it. Is they like them, they laugh with them. Of course, they will. I mean, many of them, and that was quite disappointing, thought that this could actually replace a traditional lesson. And this is, of course, impossible. You don't learn, guys. The bad news is you don't learn English on Instagram with Instagram videos. Of course, you don't. But you know, to enhance motivation and also to amuse them, because some of them are really funny and students get interested in it. And so, yeah, for this, I would say they're very useful. Okay, so let me show you, this is about vocabulary, if I'm not wrong. Of course, all the 4 skills are present in these videos. I mean, these guys, they are quite clever. Of course, they are followed by people. I mean, there are people behind them suggesting what they have to do. But they are quite clever because they cover all the 4 skills and they do other things I will tell you about.
Looks so pretty.
Smell.
She smells good.
Touch.
Her fur feels so soft.
Hearing.
She sounds angry.
Taste.
She tastes salty. Mm.
Right, so the video was about the 5 senses, and then she goes on saying these. No. Non possiamo tornare lì. Dobbiamo fare così. Sì, indifferente. No, indietro. È indifferente, o l'uno o l'altro. Di nuovo indietro. Ok. Ok. This is patrono. Non si vede qui un attimo. Ah. Dobbiamo chiudere questa. Meno male che ci sei tu, perché io proprio non posso fare niente. Mi dispiace sempre perché, ecco, ora ci siamo scollegati. Nel frattempo facciamo una chiacchiera. Non siamo ah no, ci siamo. Ok, vabbè. Mi dispiace sempre perché poi la tecnologia è sempre un po' tricky. Molte volte, insomma, è accaduto che non siamo riusciti a far vedere i video e così via. Qui invece...
War vocabulary, per capire cosa dicono i notiziari. Weapon, un'arma di qualunque tipo. Helmet, un elmo, o anche un casco se si parla di moto. In una guerra c'è l'esercito, army, formato da soldati, soldiers, e i civili, non civils, but civilians. A seconda della circostanza questi possono riuscire a fuggire, to flee, o a trovare riparo, rifugio, shelter. Se così non dovesse andare, potrebbero diventare delle casualties. Non è casualità, ma sono delle vittime, che possono essere anche solo ferite. Wounded. A wound è una ferita. E purtroppo in queste situazioni spesso gli edifici si trasformano in macerie. Debris, non debris, debris.
Okay, and we have a final one. Yeah.
Don't always say, hurry up. Here are some alternatives. Get a move on.
Get a move on.
Or get moving.
Get moving.
Chop, chop.
Chop, chop.
Be quick.
Be quick.
Come on.
Come on.
Get cracking.
Now let's get cracking.
Make haste. This one is dated though, so I'm only telling you this because if you hear it in movies or read it in books, now you know what it means.
Make haste.
That was dedicated to you, yeah? Okay. Right, now, I am aware that a wider selection of the videos would give a better idea of the potential they actually have for class integration, and also some practical tips on how to introduce them in a lesson plan would be needed. For sure, I would say that there are other things these videos have in common. They all use funny ways to amuse and capture the listener's attention. Think about Antonio Parlati's clip with the film scenes. I mean, I'm sure most of you have recognized some of the films he was introducing in the video. And this is funny for young people. I mean, it makes them interested. All these videos, more or less, one way or another, most of them contain posts, contain elements about the culture of UK and the US. So language is always, or very often, accompanied by elements of, the culture of the country. These accounts are also based on a solid marketing policy. All of these guys, or 2 out of 3, have published books on how to learn English. So they promote their books on Instagram by making posts about them, or they promote their own web pages, because they have web pages as well. They are on TikTok as well. So, I mean, there is a whole marketing policy going beyond this. Okay, I would say we skip Quora. I mean, this is another, basically an app. I'm sure you don't know it because it is not very popular in Italy, but it's very popular in the US, the UK, and in China too. I put it here just because this could be interesting in terms of culture. I mean, it provides a variety, or Quora provides a variety of resources for English learners and users that can work basically on a double level. It provides tips on language-related websites, journals, etc. On Quora, you can find, I mean, it's a kind of website where people post questions and other users answer them. Kind of TikTok thing, but for information. It's like a supermarket on information. About every subject, basically, but there is a whole section dedicated to English. So on Quora, you can basically find answers given by native speakers on specific language issues, pronunciation, word use, and so on and so forth. And this makes the learning process a familiar moment of sharing. Finally, also Quora, apart from providing cultural elements, it helps increase interest and motivation as well. But there are many. This is an example. What are good YouTube channels to learn the English language? I've written up there the question that was asked. And different people who are also very often experts on the English language gave their own answers. Okay, let me just conclude. So what did we say today, basically? That second language learning can be developed by using a variety of learning tools. Through social media, the teacher expands the tasks and the way students can use them to learn information in different ways and to promote the development of their own specific attitudes and intelligences. So SNS or social media may work as a good instrument to be integrated in classroom teaching because they provide valuable tips in terms of language knowledge and proficiency, and also because they belong to the field of social and personal life that are thus to be perceived as a more relaxed way to approach the language. So mixing contexts of learning and personal life seems to be more and more important to widen the context of learning and increase motivation. These are definitely some of the potentials of social media integration into the classroom. Of course, there are challenges. We have talked about a few: resources, selection. Lesson planning is crucial. Lesson planning in here is even more important than usual because you must be absolutely conscious of what you are using these videos for. And so, I mean, integration is possible, a lot of work is required.
Technology and social media, of course, they cannot replace classical English class. So how would you use this social media and technology in your class, in your English class?
Right. I have actually written something about it with my colleague Marco Canani. We published an article lately in which a couple of lesson plans were developed. Lesson plans featuring, introducing, of course, a couple of videos, if I remember well. Now, first of all, thank you, because you allowed me to say a bit more on a part which I had to leave out for obvious questions of time limits. How do you practically work with these videos in class? Let's take, for example, Patron's video, one out of the three. Okay, I'm giving a few scattered examples and tips. First thing, you could start by proposing to students a classical and traditional listen and repeat thing for pronunciation. By the way, Davide Patron's videos are featured for a listen and repeat kind of exercise. I mean, most of the videos leave time and space after the pronunciation of a word, and sometimes he invites the learner to repeat. So they are they are apt for that. After that, another exercise could be that of asking students to write down the words and expressions, for example, and try to memorize them. These two exercises relate to the area, to the field of vocabulary and pronunciation, but we could go a bit further as well. I mean, we could ask students, for example, to write sentences by using those words or those expressions. Again, we are extending to the skill of writing, but staying on a sort of kind of traditional kind of exercises. Something
have you ever used?
I have never with this video, but I was thinking about doing that because I think this could be very stimulating for the students. Of course, you must be able to do it in the classroom. If you have 300 students, you can't do it, basically. But for small groups, for example, students could be asked to work in groups, in small groups, and say, write a piece of news about war, let's say, and we are extending to the skill of writing as well. And then we could ask one of them to act as a TV reporter and report the news. And we would go on the skill of well, reading, but also speaking, and so on and so forth. I'm saying this, I mean, this comes to my mind as I speak. I'm saying this because I've started considering these videos in the light of Edward Gardner's multiple intelligences. I'm not sure people are familiar with those, but Gardner is a very famous and popular psychologist and linguist. And he has studied, according to the theory, there are different, each of us learns things according to his own intelligence, to his own skill, which can be like, we can have a mathematical intelligence and a linguistic, of course, intelligence, but also a musical intelligence, a bodily, kinesthetic intelligence, for example. And an exercise like that of performing and being a reporter, reporting the news, also is very close to kinesthetic and bodily intelligence development, not only on language development as well. So I'm sorry, I mean, this is just the beginning of something I hope to research
new trends
about.
that are going to develop in a better way, I think.
Yeah.
If you have any questions.
I do. Thank you.
Shall I just
come over?
So I was, you know, observing. So it's rather an observation and trying to discuss it together. So it's about. I was really curious, and I was really interested when you were talking about the teacher's role in the classroom and how it should be renegotiated. And I think that's a really important point, because it's usually overlooked, especially with teachers at public institutions in Italy and nationally, but also in other cultures. I guess there's a cultural basis for that. But it was really interesting. So do you think that this call for integrating the use of social media apps in the classroom, in the EFL classroom, will speed this process up, so the process of renegotiating the teachers' roles, and help teachers find their new roles, which is multiple, right? So that's one. And then my second, and that's more of a question. So the first was an observation, and the second was, is it also possible that these apps will also suggest new ways of promoting learners' autonomy in the EFL, so outside of the classroom?
Right, thank you so much. I mean, two very good points and very interesting points. Right, the role of social media related to the figure of the teacher in the classroom. This is, I mean, I'm not sure, but I would say I would be very careful. Social media could help students see the teacher in a different way, but it could be either a positive way or a negative way. So, I mean, it's a very delicate question. After all, I would say it depends on the teacher. It depends on the way you actually deliver your messages, either through social media.
On how you present yourself.
Exactly.
But it's the same thing in class, I think, even when you give, you know, your lessons.
Absolutely. With or without social media.
Yes.
Yeah. But social media makes it a bit more difficult because it is supposed to be something amusing, funny, and if you propose that to the student in the wrong way, he may get the message that you want just to, you know, like have fun, make them enjoy the lesson. I mean, you must also be very concentrating on delivering the message. You need to learn today. You are learning something, social media or non-social media. And of course, the role of the teacher.
Maybe it depends also on the age group that you're working with.
Absolutely. Yes, it does. And in fact, as I was saying, in an ideal world, I mean, teachers should be trained also to establish their own role in the classroom and to deliver, you know, the right image to students. And I forgot the second question.
Second one was about using.
So again, very tricky subject. This is due to my traditional viewpoint, maybe, because I'm even if I speak about social media, I'm a quite traditional teacher, and so I think students need to be, you know, followed, and so autonomous learning is fine, but I wouldn't leave them alone for many reasons. The first is motivation, again, because they would lose motivation one way or another. And I mean, you always need guidance when you learn something new. We do, I mean, I do, in each one of us. So I don't know, it could work a bit better with adults, maybe, but teenagers, I mean, I wouldn't leave them alone. We're not supposed to leave you alone, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you to you. Thank you to you. Ok. Grazie mille a tutti per aver partecipato. Grazie.